You're listening to the Adventurous Reinvention podcast. I'm Allison Boyle, aka She Dreams of Alpine, and this is the show that's dedicated to all the adventurous spirits out there who have either been transformed by the outdoors or are interested in what it looks like to step into a new, adventurous, and courageous kind of identity in their life. It doesn't matter what your background is in the outdoors, what age you're starting at, or where you grew up. If you're curious about the outdoors and using adventure as a way to reinvent yourself, you're in the right place. I'll be sharing all kinds of personal adventure stories, lessons I've learned from the mountains, teaching what I know about the outdoors and leadership, and interviewing some amazing adventurous women all along the way. I've been coaching women on becoming safe, confident, and self-sufficient backpackers and leaders of their own adventurous lives since 2018, and I know exactly what big fears and self-doubts can pop up along the way. I have so much to share with you, so let's dive in. All right. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Adventurous Reinvention podcast. It is so good to have you here. It is almost the end of the year, end of 2025. I can't believe it. I feel like this last month has gone by so fast, which I think I've said in the last two episodes, but it for real, feels like it went by so fast. But before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to ask you a question that you can kind of quietly reflect on behind the scenes. But I want you to ask yourself, did your 2025 feel different from other years? And I'm not necessarily meaning, did it feel bad? Maybe it felt slower. Maybe it felt a little heavier. It possibly might have felt a little bit more emotional than past years. Maybe you felt like you were letting go of things and you couldn't quite explain why, or parts of your life that used to feel fine suddenly felt complete, or like you ended a chapter in a book. And the reason I'm asking all of this is I know that it's felt this way for me in quite a few ways, but also for a lot of my clients and also my employees. Me and my employees have been talking about this a lot lately, especially in we have an Instagram chat with our employees, and we've been sharing some things behind the scenes, and we're like, wow, this has been a lot of chapters closing. So if that is you and you can relate, I want you to take a breath and stay with me for this episode, because in today's episode, I want to do kind of a reflective end of the year look at why 2025 might have felt the way it did, and then what 2026 represents energetically, and why in a very real and grounded way, 2026 is set up to perfectly be your adventure era. Now, don't worry, we are going to keep this whole conversation fun and grounded. I know it's a little bit different than what I usually do, and it's going to be still related to the outdoors and adventure. I am going to be talking a little bit about some concepts in numerology, which I am by no means an expert in at all, but I just find this kind of stuff really fun to learn about, and I want you to think about it as a lens that you can look back at your year with and then look forward on the new year with in a fun way. Think of it as a metaphor, a way to make meaning of everything, and just to bring some good tidings into the new year, because I know so many of us could use a little bit of that. So I'm just inviting you in this conversation as a fun way to kind of close out the year, close out the chapter that is 2025, and step into 2026. And at the end of this episode, I'm also going to share how I want to support you in stepping in this next chapter, including details about our January challenge. This is the second year we have run this particular challenge, but it's called the Your Adventure Era Challenge, and it's actually officially open for registration. As podcast listeners, you are the first to hear about it. I haven't even emailed my list about it yet, but you can actually go right now to shedreamsofalpine.com/challenge. shedreamsofalpine.com/challenge, and you can check it out right now. There's all the details on that page about what the Your Adventure Era Challenge is, and I'll talk a little bit more about it at the end. But I want to dive in. I want to get started with today's episode. Okay, so if 2025 felt like a year of endings, felt like you were shedding some things, or maybe it was a lot of quiet emotional processing, then I want you to know you're not imagining it. I know so many people in my life have had a lot of major chapters end in their life, particularly in relationships. I have so many close friends, employees, people that I know who have had relationships end and just be in a different chapter with those things. And even in She Dreams of Alpine, my business, we had one of our longtime employees who had been with us since 2020. She moved on, and it was an amicable closing chapter, but it was still like an end of an era with an employee that had been with us for a long time. And so if this year felt like you had a lot of endings and you had a lot of chapters closing and you were maybe shedding some heavy identities or identities that no longer serve you, then here's a reframe that I want to offer you. Some years are not about becoming. They are about closing chapters. They are about letting identities fall away and creating space for new beginnings. And culturally and socially, we don't celebrate these years very well. We tend to judge them as unproductive years or I'm stuck, right? And we make it mean that we failed or we're behind. But a strong way we can reposition what 2025 might have been for many of us is, what if it was asking us to clear the runway for what is next and what we're stepping into? So here's what I want to introduce as a kind of fun framework. Remember, take it or leave it. I just think these are fun things to kind of ponder on. Again, I'm not an expert by any means in any of this stuff. I just find it fun to read about, kind of like personality tests. I always find those fun to learn about, but ultimately with any of this stuff, I just take what serves me and supports me. And I leave anything that doesn't resonate with me. So give yourself permission to do the same, okay? So in numerology, 2025 is considered a year 9, universal year 9. So the year 9 it's a 9-year cycle. And so the final year in a 9-year cycle is year 9. And year 9 isn't about starting new things. So it isn't about becoming new things, starting new things. It's actually about completion. So some themes of year 9 are release, completion, closure, healing, integration, reflection, letting go of outdated dreams, preparing for a fresh start, shedding old identities, letting go of what no longer fits in your life, and possibly resetting priorities. So year 9 energy tends to surface a lot of old stuff so that it can finally be resolved. And this might have shown up for you as ending relationships, or maybe redefining relationships, or maybe you closed out really big projects, or maybe you are letting go. Like this past year, you let go of goals that no longer felt true for you, or you found yourself outgrowing old versions of yourselves. If you had the moment where you thought, I don't want this anymore, but I don't know what's next, that is part of the transition. That is very 9-year energy kinds of things. So I had a few relationships come to an end, not super dramatically for me. I don't think this means endings have to be dramatic, but quiet chapters closing, with the employee that I mentioned earlier. And I also had some friendships that I had the year prior, or a couple years prior, that just kind of quietly came to an end. And for me, I felt a lot more of the year 9 energy and more of the outgrowing old versions of myself. So something that I talked a lot about with my clients that were part of our adventurous reinvention experience container this past summer. So our 2025 adventurous reinvention experience clients. I talked with them about how around the middle of this year, I experienced this really strong urge to stop holding on so tightly to this identity that I always needed to be protecting my energy somehow. So I just started to notice that I had this pattern of protecting my energy, which would make me go into a slump. It's really kind of funny out of context to explain it here, but basically I noticed a pattern of how I was always putting the brakes on what I was possible and capable of achieving, because I was always just preemptively over worried about overextending myself instead of growing my understanding of how to handle more, but not necessarily from a hustle space, if that makes sense. But at the middle of this year, I just kind of noticed how this pattern had kept me from my growth. And likewise, I had also noticed that I have been creating really similar results the last few years, and some personal goals and business goals. Like I just was noticing where that pattern was showing up a lot for me. So it was a big revelation for me without getting into too much detail about it. But it's something that I know I'm taking into 2026 with me, and it felt like a shedding of an old identity. And I'm still coming up with it. It's like a habit, like a way of thinking, but I'm noticing it a lot more and a lot easier. And it's something I'm releasing a lot quicker. So the part of all this that I really want you to hear is if you felt slower this year, if you felt less motivated, if you felt like there were a lot of endings in your life, or you felt like you were just more inward and reflective, I want you to consider like this wasn't something that went wrong, and instead start to reframe this past year through the lens of preparing for a possible reinvention, a new era, a new beginning, and new things. So think of it as like this was our winter season, shedding the leaves, closing out a chapter, slowing down so that you could get ready for your spring season. So identity shifts always happen before behavior shifts. And so this season that we just went through in 2025 was important because you cannot walk into a new era, a new way of being by dragging old identities with you. We have to shed them first, which I definitely felt for myself, before we can step into new ones. So now that we've kind of like looked back, reframed 2025, I want to also give you some perspective on looking forward. So 2026 in numerology is considered a year one. So this is the beginning of a brand new 9-year cycle, and year one energy is very different. So some core themes of a year one are new beginnings, new adventures, fresh starts, identity creation, momentum, courage and self-trust and leadership and ambition, taking bold action, initiating new ideas, and planting seeds for the next 9-year cycle. So if you consider like year 9 as winter and year 1 is spring, like think of it like the soil has been cleared. You now have this like blank canvas, this open runway, a lot of like clean slate energy, right? You're ready to step into what's new. And I think the year 1 kind of energy asks us, like it kind of step backs, and a good question to ask yourself even is, what do you want to create in this next era of your life? So you might experience year 1 with different kinds of energy. And so I'm just going to give you some ideas. And I just find this, for me personally, just very motivating and inspiring. So you might experience year 1 with a huge surge of internal motivation and clarity. So like many people suddenly know what they want to pursue, or they feel a pull towards something new. Or maybe new opportunities and ideas and paths seem to appear, and like doors open effortlessly. You might also have a powerful sense of, I'm stepping into a new version of myself. And that kind of feeling where this year is the year you start acting like the person that you have been slowly becoming internally. And maybe like last year you were shedding kind of final bits of that. And this year it is your year, right? You might also notice your ambition coming back online. Like you want to do things, you want to create things, you want to test things out. Like your inner fire feels really like it's ready to go. It's ready to kick it into high gear. This is also potentially a year of a lot of messy, imperfect action, right? It's meant to be a year of motion, experimenting, planting different seeds. It isn't necessarily meant to be like polished or perfect. It's meant, like I said earlier, to be brave, messy, forward action. Which, for me is always like a good reminder for the recovering perfectionist in me, that just to keep taking that action, not to be overly perfectionist about any of the ideas that I might have. And then it's also a year for increased independence and personal leadership. So this is where many people step into ownership of their choices and ownership of their vision and their desires, which as a coach and educator, I really love. And for me, this is like major like backpacking badass energy. I want to see our ladies in the program getting out there, being self-sufficient, having their own back, feeling that increased freedom and independence when they hit the trail, knowing that they can create any kind of new adventure they want at any moment because they have that self-trust, that leadership qualities in themselves, and they feel independent when they head outdoors. So if 2025 asked you to shed, to complete some things, then we can look at 2026 as your invitation to move and to run toward the life that you want, the one that you've been thinking about, to step into a new era. And this is exactly the energy behind your adventure era, because stepping into your own adventure era isn't just about like the activity of backpacking or travel or summiting mountains, even though we all love that. If you're here on this podcast, that's what you're about. But I think your adventure era is about more than that. It's about stepping into your next identity. It's about choosing what you want instead of waiting. It's about letting adventure be the catalyst that reinvents you, becoming the woman who leads and takes bold action and has her own back, and ultimately doing the things that make you feel really alive again. So if 2025 felt like one big clearing out of old versions of you, then a fun way to look at this new year is that 2026 is all about stepping into the next version of you, a braver, bolder, possibly feeling more alive, full of life and experiences, and the woman who's ready to take the lead. And we can take this year one energy and we can use adventure as a container for massive identity growth, which is something that I talk about a lot with my clients. And I've definitely talked about on the podcast before. But I just think adventure is the best way to kind of like start to embody stepping into a new identity and bringing out new versions of yourself, because it's going to ask you to, step into your courage, to trust yourself, and to do all those things. And I personally love an opportunity to step into new energy. So personally, I'm all about it. I love this year one energy that we're stepping into, even though, year 9 was necessary. I'm ready for this kind of momentum. And I think this aligns so well with all the fun that we are going to be having and all the transformations we will be creating inside our upcoming Your Adventure Era Challenge week that's in January. So if that is exciting you, if that kind of gets you on fire, if you're ready for that, if you're feeling like that, I definitely want to encourage you to join us in there. So registration is officially open for Your Adventure Era Challenge. You can sign up right now at shedreamsofalpine.com/challenge. And the challenge is going to run, it's a virtual challenge, but I'm going to be doing live workshops all week, January 12th through 16th. So that's a Monday through Friday. This is going to be a free live 5-day experience where I'll help you plan a year filled with adventure. We're going to talk about preparing your body. We're going to talk about building an adventurous community and friendships. We're going to talk about developing real confidence in the outdoors and ultimately stepping into this new era intentionally. And from what I've learned with working with thousands of women, in order to boldly step into your very own adventure era, we're going to need 5 things. You're going to need a confident mindset. You're going to need a clear plan. You're going to need a supportive community. You also want to be working on having that strong body, that confidence in your body, and you need the skills to keep you safe and have your own back so you can be self-sufficient and have more freedom. So we're going to be covering all of that in our 5-day challenge. Okay, so again, you can learn so much more about the challenge, what we're talking about each day, and you can register for free at shedreamsofalpine.com/challenge. And then right after the challenge, just to kind of put it on your radar, we're also going to be opening up enrollment for our Backpacking Badass program. This is our signature program, course, community, and coaching container where we teach you how to become safe, confident, and self-sufficient and fully capable backpackers. So this is for women who don't want to outsource their confidence to someone else, who want to build their own skills in the outdoors so that they always have their own backs no matter what or who they go with. For women who want adventure to be a real integrated, ongoing part of their life and not something that they have to wait on other people for. And this challenge week that we're doing will help you start. It helps you frame your year, get excited, build momentum, start creating the vision and confidence for what's possible. And then the Backpacking Badass program is perfect for anyone who wants to take all of that amazing energy we're gonna create in the challenge and then fully step into becoming a confident backpacker and hiker in 2026 in a way that creates momentum, not just for the year of 2026, but for the rest of your life. So I will be sharing all of the details during the challenge, but for now, just know that our enrollment in that program will open the week after our challenge week on January 19th. So again, the challenge takes place the 12th through the 16th, and then the Backpacking Badass program opens on the 19th. And you can join our Backpacking Badass waitlist if you're interested in that or you want to make sure you hear more at shedreamsofalpine.com/waitlist. So the challenge is shedreamsofalpine.com/challenge, and then the waitlist is shedreamsofalpine.com/waitlist. All right. So I just wanted to mention those things so you could join us in the challenge, save the dates. I'll be sharing a lot more soon. That is it for today's episode. I hope you had fun with it. I hope it helped you look back on 2025 with a little bit more compassion and gratitude, even if it was hard, and it helped you lean into the energy and possibility that 2026 is bringing with it, because I'm excited about it. I cannot wait to walk into this next season with all of you and to help so many of you step into or reclaim your very own adventure era. All right. Until next time, we'll talk next week. Bye. Hey, I wanted to thank you real quick for tuning into the show and listening all the way to the end. If you love this episode and you want deeper support in becoming a safe, confident, and self-sufficient hiker and backpacker, then head over to shedreamsofalpine.com/waitlist to learn more about our Backpacking Badass coaching program, where I teach you absolutely everything you need to know to be self-reliant on the trails and stop waiting around on others for the adventure invite. So I'd love to help you more in your journey of stepping into your adventurous identity, and that program is the absolute best place for us to start working together. So again, that's shedreamsofalpine.com/waitlist, and you can learn all about it there. So that's it for today, folks. I hope you get to spend some time outside this week, and I'll be back very soon with a brand new episode. Bye.